I spent my whole damn life in the city. I could go for broke, but the capital is in me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. Anywhere I go, DC's coming with me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. I could go for broke, but the capital is in me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. Anywhere I go, DC's coming with me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. I could go for broke, but the capital is in me.
Welcome, everyone, to District Divided, a DC sports podcast, more specifically, a Washington Commanders podcast. I am Amit. That is KDot. Today's episode, we actually have things to talk about. The Super Bowl is happening this Sunday. The Kansas City Chiefs are playing the Philadelphia Eagles. I personally am hoping the Eagles lose 73-0 so that we're not the only franchise that has lost 73-0 in a championship game. We're going to talk about the Super Bowl. We're also going to be talking about Commanders news. We actually do have Commanders news. There was a tweet that said that the sale can be expected to happen after the Super Bowl and before the owners meeting in March. Owners meeting being March 26th through 29th. So there is a chance we have new ownership before then, which would be phenomenal. So we're going to get into that. Ron Rivera has mentioned two things. One, Sam Howell is going to enter the offseason as QB1. I don't think that's going to surprise a whole lot of people. But he also did kind of remain non-committal on the idea of extending Chase Young for that fifth-year option. So we're going to get into that and whether we would pick up Chase Young's fifth-year option at $17.5 million for that fifth year. Deadline is May 1st. KDot, how are you doing today?
Doing pretty good.
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
All right, perfect. Why don't we go ahead and jump into, let's begin with the Commanders news. And then we'll go ahead and talk about the Super Bowl. Of course, we'll do the comment mailbag after the pod as always. So beginning with this tweet from C. Gasparino, Charles Gasparino, basically said, and verbatim, NFL sources say sale of Commanders will take place weeks after the Super Bowl and owners meeting in March. Despite denials, most people in the NFL circles think Jeff Bezos will bid after initial bids are in. Given his wealth, he's most capable to make numbers work for a purchase. He then also specified Twitter space limitation does butcher the English language. So to be clear, my sources say that the Commanders deal will be sometime post Super Bowl and sometime before the owners meeting. Again, that's going to be March 26th through 29th. And the Super Bowl is this Sunday. KDot, how hopeful are you that this is true?
The way that the tweet was written,
I did a lot of digging to get that.
Very hopeful that it's true. It also is not really revealing much. Because
Okay.
I mean, we always knew the owners' meetings happened in March.
Mhm.
We always knew that it would either be that we knew the owners getting together would love to make the vote there on it, which is what our timeline was. On the early end of this thing, could they get something in place so they could vote on it by the owners meeting? It's kind of it. Like the idea that it'll happen or not happen, I don't think that anything has necessarily been revealed about what's happening in the process as far as like the wagers, what's happening in process as far as like who's bidding what, and where. Like we all know Jeff Bezos has more money than anyone. We all know that at any given point in time, if he decides he wants to jump in the ring, he can outbid anyone. So if I'm really looking at like what this is exactly, it's nice, I guess, to hear the update in some sort of way because the news there's not been a lot of news about it. But after listening to, what's this guy's name?
This is Charles Gasparino. And just to give a little bit of background on the guy, Fox Business Network, he's been with them for 12, 13 years at this point as a senior correspondent. He talks typically about stocks and stuff like that, but I guess he got this scoop as well. Yeah.
So I listened to this guy's interview on Grant and Danny. Shout out to 106.7. You were better when you weren't a sports station. Even though I appreciate Grant, appreciate Danny. Bring back Big O and Deuce. And when Opie and Anthony used to be on, great time for radio. Look, he goes on Grant and Danny, and this dude, every time I ask him about something, it's, yeah, so I think that it's going to go down like this way. All right, well, what about your sources? Like, who's saying what? Well, I mean, I know a lot of people.
Was
really
he losing
close
credibility during this whole thing?
every second. To
Jesus.
the point where Grant ended the interview because they said they were coming up on a break. and it just felt like they needed to end
It
the
was
interview.
a forced break. Okay, got it.
Like that, I haven't heard anybody say that, but it was just what I gleaned through.
Okay.
Is that like every time that you have to drop how close you are to Dan Snyder, and then you start saying, "Yeah, I don't know anything about the sexual harassment allegation or anything that were happening with the," and try to drop the Redskins name 20 times in the fucking interview. Like you can tell he's doing it to make a statement.
Well,
He's
the
like,
Fox, yeah.
right. So, I don't understand all the things. Like, people keep saying stuff, but, I know Dan, he's a good guy, a good family man. And, when you have an owner that's from the area, that's a good thing. So he bought the team. Well, how much did he buy the team for, guys? You're the business guy, ain't you? So, like, I don't know Tanya that much, but I know Dan. When's the last time you talked to Dan? It's been at least a year, and we haven't talked much. We haven't talked at all about this, but I know a lot of people that are close to Dan and close to the NFL, and this is what they're telling me. And it's like, okay. Then on top of that, afterwards, when I hear the interview, I jump back on Twitter and pull up that tweet. And you see that he's giving all the credit to the New York Post and another journalist for being on top of this thing. The other journalist then tweets back to him, "Hey, thanks for broadcasting or getting this news out." So it's like, what do you know, Charles? So I just don't know. It seems like he's just amplifying.
So it seems like we've got a blue check mark with 163,000 followers that typically doesn't dive into sports, diving into sports with news for a pretty famished fan base, looking for news on this sale, managed to capture the imaginations of many. And here we are.
There was a scary part too.
What was the scary part?
Anything's on the table. There's no one that says that Dan has to sell the team. It was like, hold up, motherfucker.
Like, okay, now Rick Snyder has been very adamant that, hey, this is definitely happening, even if Dan has a change of heart.
This dude, you read the tweet, you see everything, and then when they had him right there, he reverted and said, yeah, anything is on the table. I don't trust anything until it's signed and the sale actually goes through. Do you think
he was just told to tweet this by somebody?
It feels like it. Like, that's the thing is like, and then I was trying to find the New York Post article that the other guy wrote, and I couldn't find that. So I don't know. I honestly have no idea what's going on with it.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's see if he ends up being correct. It was a bit surprising, right? Because I'd never heard of this guy before. All of a sudden, he's got this tweet. It's making the rounds on Commander's Twitter and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, worth investigating a little bit. I personally, when I was looking through the wording, was like, okay, will take place weeks after Super Bowl and owners meeting in March. I don't know what that means. Pick one if it's going to be after one of them. And then I saw in the replies, he was like actually between. Hopefully he's right. That is the fan in me wanting him to be right, because here's the other thing. I was thinking owners meeting, it would be discussed as one of the main points, but not necessarily voted on. So if it were to actually happen that we could vote on it in March, that's amazing news. That would be awesome.
I think that's been the hope for all of us, is that, like, because I know that every time we talked about it, we talked about that March date in the owners meeting.
We talked about the March date being, hey, it's going to be discussed, and maybe that's where it's finalized that it is going to happen. We were not necessarily that the sale would happen in March.
Well, I was thinking that as far as on the early end, right? So, like, I knew that I've been saying, I think this is a done deal. It's gonna happen. It's already set in stone. Mm-hmm. But the timeline being that the most aggressive of the timelines was they get to vote on it at the March meetings. Right. Because we even talked about whether that the league would have an emergency session just to get Snyder the fuck up out of here. Right. So, like, March to me seems like the biggest date to us as far as everybody's onus to want to get the fucking thing done. And it would be great to have a guy that gets to come in and put his guys in place to watch what this staff does as far as draft lead up, to watch what they do as far as in the draft, to watch how the entire offseason progresses, and then they can make their assessments on what works, what doesn't work, and things like that.
Now, what I would love is if for somehow the NFL to meet, have an emergency meeting, because this is how often does a sale occur, right? I guess recently the Broncos got sold, but like it doesn't happen that often. It would be cool if this could somehow happen before free agency. Only to draw a parallel to the NBA, where the Suns basically expedited a vote and got their new owner And 12 hours into his tenure, Matt Ishbia lands Kevin Durant, just immediately going, okay, I'm going to make a big splashy move. It's not necessarily that
Lamar!
our guy can do that, be on the table all of a sudden, but just to have the option of the full free agency would be really nice as well for the new owner, whomever it may be, or whichever group it may be. Just wanted to put that out there as like it would be really cool if they could somehow get this done before the start of free agency as well.
Right.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on the timeline? It seems like it's going about the same in terms of what you expected, KDot, which is that this could be happening in March.
Yeah. I will say this. The only thing that is, I'm still setting firm that it is happening.
Mhm.
I will say that I am a little bit surprised about the lack of details coming out about the bidding and stuff. I
Mhm.
really did think there'd be more fanfare and news and sources on that happening. And I'm not sure what to attribute that to, but I have done a lot of thinking on that part of it.
Okay. What are your thoughts on that then?
I don't know. Like, there's a part of me that thinks that maybe everything is being held under wraps because of how sure they are that it's going to happen, that maybe we don't need any publicity or advertisement there on it. That, like, the league and everybody else is just trying to make sure that this is the smoothest possible fucking process that could ever exist because they're all on the same page. They want him gone.
Mhm.
But then even, like, you heard the initial release back in December about the bids. And that's the last time we really heard anything. And then even with that, there was a lot of like, all right, so what did that mean? Did that mean that $7 billion was a starting bid? Did they get a bunch of bids over $7 million? Did they not hit that mark? It was a lot. It just never felt clear. And
Yeah.
it also seems as though a lot of the best journalists on this particular topic they're just not getting the scoops. But I also don't know how much anybody's really pouring into it. Like, you'd expect the Washington Post to kind of be on top of this, and maybe because Bezos is involved, the Washington Post is not on top of it.
I was going to say, maybe that's it, because they wouldn't want, if you think about it from the Bezos perspective, I wouldn't want news out on a team that I'm potentially bidding on. Right. Because that can only increase the amount. So, yeah, you could choose to read into that, and I think it's entirely plausible. And then if you go back to Charles Gasparino, if he's not just putting out a tweet for the sake of it, he did mention Jeff Bezos as a possibility when a lot of people have sort of said Dan will never sell to Jeff. Who knows? There's also an article that says Dan is holding out for $7 billion, and we were also under the impression he already got bids over 7. So there's a lot of we don't really know what's going on, quite frankly, and it is quiet. Hopefully, it is being done under wraps. It seems like AJ Perez, who's with Front Office Sports, has also been saying, "Hey, this is slowly but surely happening behind the scenes." So. Just not a lot of leaks right now.
Right.
Why don't we go ahead and talk about on-field personnel? Let's talk about the defensive rookie of the year from a few years ago, Chase Young. So he has been in the news recently because fifth-year options have come out and the amounts have come out. Chase Young is eligible for a roughly $17.5 million fifth-year option should the team choose to pick it up. Now, Ron Rivera was asked about that, and he sort of remained non-committal on it. In fact, even citing Daron Payne, correct me if I'm wrong, and saying, hey, it lit a fire under Daron. I wonder if the same thing could happen with Chase. He wasn't saying that, no, we're not going to pick it up, but he was saying, hey, we're leaving the possibility open to not pick it up and see how Chase reacts to that. KDot, what do you make of Rivera's comments there? And if you are the GM, are you picking up Chase Young's fifth-year option for $17.5 million? It's a $7.5 million increase from what he'd be making this year for 2024. The deadline is May 1st.
Yes. All right, so reverse order. Yes, I would do that. I'm picking up the fifth year. I did not like Ron's comments. I didn't like Ron's comments because I don't like the idea of dangling the carrot like that. In front of these guys, especially guys that
publicly, no less.
Publicly, that's the big part of it, is publicly. Whether or not that's a method that you guys want to use behind the scenes, cool, fine, do whatever you want to do. I know there's certain franchises around the league that do that, as far as not necessarily picking up the option to see what guys do in their contract years. But I also look at an organization and team that does not, before even Ron's time, does not necessarily have the best reputation as far as what it is they do with homegrown talent, what it is they do extending contracts and making sure that guys feel loved, feel like they're a part of the community, feel all these things as they're going along. You also put yourself in a position where, like Daron Payne right now, we're sort of at the mercy of him and what it is that he's going to decide. So, like, I look at Daron Payne, I see the Chicago Bears with more cap room than anyone that would love to have a defensive interior presence.
Poor Daryl Patterson tweeting out, come to Atlanta.
When you got those guys and you've got Daron Payne who looks and say, well, they didn't trust me last year. They actually went and they go drafted Phil Mathis. And now they're in the media talking about how they want me so. Well, they're going to have to pay for that shit. And there's no real there's nothing he feels as though he owes the franchise at that point. You've made a strict business decision. If you want them to come back for loyalty, then you have to do something to build that. If you want them to come back if you want them to come back from a business decision, they'll be able to be prepared to pay more than anybody else to make it happen. So my thing is, do right by these guys as best as you can, as long as you're not breaking the entire bank to do it. And with a Chase Young, we've seen the talent as far as in his rookie season. He hasn't been able to stay healthy enough. But if you look at that, stay healthy enough, it's all coming back off that injury that he had in 2021. So it's really one major injury that's lasted from 2021 into 2022. This has been the gap as far as his time in play, right? Yeah. And now he gets to come back and we get to see fully with an entire offseason program, with him working at full strength, what it is you'll do with him. I think he's a guy worth keeping in that realm. He's a guy worth seeing and worth developing with because of the talent we've seen, at least.
And just to echo, first off, I think it's an absolute no-brainer that you pick up his fifth-year option. I completely agree with you. He also very much surprised both of us because we were talking about expectations for Chase Young's first game. He was great, and he was also Pro Football Focus's highest-graded player on our team that week. And that was his first game back, and he was supposed to have a snap limit. He exceeded that, and even beyond that said, hey, I want to go back in there. So you look at that. You look at the fact that the talent was abundantly clear his rookie year. And then, yes, the only reason you wouldn't be doing this is because he missed a ton of time. It's not from a talent perspective. It's certainly not from a locker room perspective. Everybody loves him. You see him on the sideline. You see him even when Carson Wentz was struggling in that Browns game, trying to get him going. You know, he is great for this team. And we talk about building a franchise and building on-field personnel. You want homegrown guys. It's an added bonus that he's from the area, but you really want to keep the players you drafted, right? Yeah. Because that's where culture is built. So to me, it's an absolute no-brainer. I honestly have nothing else to say on this subject other than I completely agree with you, KDot. Ron Rivera putting that in public, yet another reason I'm not a fan. I mean, I was even listening to, and this will delve into Sam Howell in a moment. Maybe we could even transition there. Taylor Heinicke was on the Pat McAfee Show while they're over in Arizona. I don't know if you got the chance to see that interview.
I saw some of it.
One of the things Taylor mentioned, because they talked about, Taylor, you were winning most of your games. Losing does happen in the NFL, but then you were told you were on a short leash. How did that feel, especially when you're going against the San Francisco 49ers and then seeing Carson do what he did against Cleveland? And he said, honestly, he's like, I understand that Carson is making around $30 million a year and it's a business. What I didn't appreciate was the communication. A few minutes later, they asked him how he figured out he was on a short leash. Apparently, this is according to Taylor. Okay, so there could be he said, she said. I don't know. But according to Taylor, who is beloved by this fan base and by the locker room, he found out through links his friends sent him to articles. It wasn't a direct conversation with Ron. So this is another example of maybe this occurred publicly, where Ron is mentioning this stuff to the media, but not to the player himself. So we talk about accountability. We talk about doing stuff in-house. That, if true, 2 examples of not doing this in-house.
100%. And that's the thing is, like, when you look at the reputation that Washington's had as far as the way that we treat guys, and you add on top of that the guy who's supposed to be the bastion of new hope, the lightning rod for change and things, while he's done so much in that regard, is screwing up one fundamental aspect of where it is that we need to be better. He's screwing up differently than the last regimes have done it, but there is a method of Ron, shut the fuck up.
Oh,
Go
absolutely.
talk to your guys or go keep things in house. And if the media wants to criticize you for not being transparent enough, fuck them.
Yes.
If you like that's where I go to. Like, I've never criticized Bill Belichick for not speaking enough. You do what you need to do to keep your competitive advantage and to make sure that you keep things in house. That to me makes sense. You're a private fucking organization. Ain't nobody fucking, it ain't public. Like, at the end of the day, you got to do what it is that you got to do to do right by this. And this is where I look at that Chase Young 5th-year option as an opportunity. Look, there are I do know that there are people that are legitimately concerned about Chase's talent level looking at the first 9 games he played in 2021.
Yeah.
Get it. Totally understood. Was he a flash in the pan? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But here's what I also know. $7.5 million on that, above what it is that he was making the year before, to buy goodwill across the league, to potentially make guys understand that realize we're going to take care of our own and give you opportunities and give you shots, only helps as far as the branding opportunity for who it is we are as Washington.
And here's the other thing. If it doesn't work, it only costs you an additional 7.5 to do anyway for a homegrown guy that everyone loves in this fan base. So to me, again, no brainer. To you, sounds like no brainer. And it is alarming to me that we have a coach that is doing a lot of this stuff publicly. You even remember when I forgot which reporter it was, but asked him the difference between us and other NFC East teams, and he says quarterback. And then the next day has to explain to Carson Wentz what he meant by that. And that wasn't even Taylor, that was Carson. So like, he has successfully, with both QBs that we had this year and relied on both of them, found ways to get after both of them publicly. So it's just one of those things where he is, and I don't think he intends to do it. He absolutely needs media training, because I don't think he intends to do this type of damage, but he keeps shooting himself in the foot. And it ends up opening up opportunities for people to ask questions.
It's the same thing that it's who he is. He's a good guy. He wants to be transparent. He wants to tell you what's on his mind. He wants to be truthful. He wants all those things. He's loyal to a fault. He does all these things because, to his core, as far as who he is as a human being, is an honorable person, right?
Yes.
It doesn't make you a great football coach.
I would agree with that, because it was also very funny remember when he then very staunchly defended Carson? He's like, you got to take it easy on the kid. What he himself was the one that set up that whole thing with the quarterback comment, only for Carson to then miss any number of weeks and to have Taylor go on a winning streak. And then all of a sudden Taylor's on the short leash. We go back to Carson. He then doesn't know we can get eliminated. We get eliminated that same day. And here we are. We're starting Taylor Heinicke. Taylor goes, actually, and he did cite that on the McAfee Show as well, just saying, yeah, there actually is some truth to me going, why not give Sam the shot?
Right. And he's even trying to be respectful there, because he said he didn't want to go into the exact of the conversation.
I didn't want to get into details.
You know what it sounds like? I'm protecting Ron.
Yes. Yeah. So anyway, that, you know, my feelings on it. Let's talk about Sam Howell, though. Let's talk about Sam Howell, who did start that last game against Dallas and looked, I mean, for his first NFL start, pretty good. So he does look like he's going to go into this offseason as the starter. These are Ron Rivera's words again. Ron Rivera also mentioned that it is very unlikely that they make a splash in free agency for a QB like they did this past season. So that can probably pretty safely, if we talk about honesty and transparency, rule out a Derek Carr move, for example. Could rule out any number of other QB free agent moves for the starting position. So maybe something in the draft if something falls. But other than that, seems like this is going to be Sam Howell's team. What do you make of those comments, KDot?
I say that they're accurate for now, but if an opportunity presents itself, I understand that Ron's going to listen. So I also know that anything can happen. Now, does it make probably that's the thing, is like, once again, going back to Ron being an honorable guy, this, that, and the other. I think he believes that right now. But I also looked at, I don't know what that conversation he had with Dan was like, and what it is that where it is the line is for him this offseason and what he can spend or not spend. I don't know what the deal is with that.
Yeah, none of us do. I don't even think the insiders do.
So like the idea of bringing all these offensive coordinators in, as far as that to me usually symbolizes like, oh, they're willing to cut a check for a guy. But then there can also be, as we also talked about, they're doing their due diligence to go back to Ken Zampese, who'll be the cheapest option probably, and then they're going to stick with Sam Howell because nobody wants to invest the money in signing any game checks over to anybody, at least initially, or sending signing bonuses over. So I don't know. I really don't know. I just think it's probably true for right now, but why is it true? And could it change? Yes.
Yeah, I completely agree there. And it's funny. It's one of those things that the more I think about it, the more Ken Zampe's makes the most sense in the world, right? I mean, if Sam Howell is going to be the starter, if this season is truly in flux with the ownership and stuff like that, why wouldn't you stay with the, I guess incumbent isn't the word, but like, why wouldn't you go with an internal solution that knows the quarterback?
The incumbent system.
The incumbent system. There you go. Thank you. I think it just makes the most sense. I think bringing in a new OC that maybe is gone after a year. We talked about the reward aspect of it for a guy like Eric Bieniemy, who Andy Reid came out and said, yeah, he calls all the plays. Once again, lending itself to your idea, they just want him out, because why would you be saying all of that for a lateral move? It's interesting, but I do think Ken Zampe still, my money is there on Ken Zampe being the offensive coordinator. Yeah, and as to my thoughts on Ron Rivera and those comments, I'm with it. I don't think it was surprising at all. I think it was nice for Sam to publicly get a vote of confidence to an extent. Like you said, it's a for now thing. Now, if something crazy pops up, he'd be idiotic not to listen, right? He's just doing his due diligence to listen to certain opportunities. And he didn't rule out an offseason move for a QB. He just said, or free agency move for a QB, just said it's very unlikely. Yeah. So see what happens there. There's a big game happening Sunday, KDot.
Yes, there is.
Super Bowl 57. The Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles are going to go at it this Sunday in Arizona. The Eagles, KDot, are 1.5 point favorites in this game. The over under, I need to double check again. I believe it is at 50.5. It is at 50.5. Who do you like in this game? If you want to jump into any numbers, by all means, the floor is yours.
Kansas City. Now, here's the thing. You can take everything I say with a grain of goddamn salt, but I'm going Kansas City. Like, I understand everybody is talking about how great the Eagles are and how they're a great overall team and how they've got a defense. They got the running game. They got Jalen Hurts. Patrick Mahomes is the best goddamn football player on the planet. And that's who I'm putting my faith in. And I think that the matchup in this game is that Kansas City offense against the pass defense of Philadelphia and what it is they're going to be able to do. And I think when you start looking at the stats, you start reading up on what it is that Kansas City does well and where Patrick Mahomes does his best, or even when he struggles. It's counterintuitive and confusing. When Patrick Mahomes has more time to throw, he has worse stats than when he has less time to throw. You end up running a defense, if you're going to go against Patrick Mahomes as best you possibly can, with 3 down linemen dropping everybody pretty much back into coverage. And I think Kansas City's almost okay if you're going to decide to do that, because they got this guy named Isaiah Pacheco, who they'd be more than willing to run up your ass. So that's where I think the matchup is. I think what you're going to see is a lot of tight ends for Kansas City getting involved in the game. So Get familiar with the second and third stringers in Kansas City. But yeah, once again, I don't know if my hatred for the Eagles is just clouding everything. It might be, and that's fine. But yeah, I really do
it's a TC
truly
Sports
believe
podcast, my friend. You are more than this is our show. We could do what we want.
Like in life, I've only bought outside of Washington players. I've only bought a Tom Brady jersey in my life. Tom Brady, New England jersey, back in like 2008, 2009, somewhere around there. Yeah. Because after I had lost so much goddamn money betting Peyton Manning to beat Brady through the early 2000s, and he lost, and I said I'll never bet against Brady again, and I bought his jersey. I'm about to do the same thing with Mahomes.
Okay. Hey, I mean, that's a great lesson to learn with 14 years left in Brady's career. I'm not betting against this guy. Probably made you some money there. So
absolutely.
I am going to go ahead and say I will never pick the Philadelphia Eagles to win a Super Bowl on this podcast ever.
Good man.
So with that being said, I am picking the Kansas City Chiefs as well. For the same reasons KDot is. Patrick Mahomes is the best player on the football field. Now, it is intriguing that this is going to be a situation where something's got to give, because the Chiefs are number 1 in pass pro when it comes to sacks allowed, and the Eagles are number 1 at getting after the QB. So who wins there? A very intriguing battle. We do know Pacheco runs hard, runs violently, and he should have opportunities to create space and easier situations for that passing offense. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is probably going to be back for this game. He was activated off of IR. I don't know how many snaps he's going to get, but it's nice to know that he's going to be available. And then Jerick McKinnon has been a weapon in the passing game out of the backfield, less so in the playoffs recently, but near the tail end of the regular season, he was used quite heavily. Now they don't have McCole Hardman, so they won't have him, but they do have Kadarius Toney back. It looks like Juju Smith-Schuster is going to be good to go. MVS is there. And of course, the legend, the current legend, Travis Kelce, who just continues to pour on every single team he plays against. I just think there's a whole lot to stop. I think the last time they went against an elite defense, like the San Francisco 49ers, they hung 44 on them. So when it comes to Mahomes, he's just got that it. And I'm never going to bet against a Patrick Mahomes. On the other side, though, the Eagles do have quite the opportunity. This is, to me, still a soft Kansas City defense. I would look to go over the 50.5 that they've set for the over-under. And I think the Eagles are going to put up some points. I just think Mahomes is going to have one of those from start to finish flawless Super Bowls where he just shows, I am that dude. It is that simple. Do you have a score?
No. That's something I'm still kind of taking right up to the fucking line. Because trust me, I'm putting a lot of fucking money in this game. I've already got probably
I think a lot of people are
in this thing. I'll probably be north of a couple grand by the time Sunday comes in. This to me screams high scoring game. Which is why I think it'll be one of those boring fucking low scoring guys just aren't making it happen the right way sort of games. And I'm like, okay. Like, it just, this to me feels like one of those matchups that kick you on your ass. Just like, I thought this was going to happen. It didn't necessarily happen that way. I don't know. I don't have a good read on what I had a read on what should happen. I don't know.
I could see this being like a 35-34 or something like that.
It feels like that, but we've had other Super Bowls that kind of felt like that, and they're not.
That's entirely true. That is entirely true.
But we've kind of been spoiled recently to some really good ones, and we kind of forget about the stinkers.
That is true.
So it's just like things get kind of weird. But I always remember, as a kid, the Super Bowl was the biggest letdown game of the year, right? As far as the actual game.
It always was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Looking at
this game feels weird. But the other thing, the other big part of it is I don't know who the Eagles are yet, fully. And that's me looking at strength of schedule and looking at the playoff run. I don't know who they are. Well, they could be the best team in the NFL by far. I don't know yet.
But here's the other thing. Hurts as a passer has been so-so since he got injured against Chicago. So like they showed on First Things First, which I think is a great show, the graphic of how he was before, which was spectacular, and then after, which was like near bottom of the league. So he's got 2 weeks to get healthy. He's said with the media that he's still dealing with it.
Yep.
Don't be surprised if Jalen Hurts has a subpar game throwing the ball. I think he's still going to be a threat running. I think that's what makes him special. But
I'm looking at a lot of rushing.
How can you bet against Patrick Mahomes? So I'm gonna go ahead and say 35-34. Maybe Mahomes has a game-winning drive where he's just spectacular, but that's what I think.
I'll say 28-24.
28-24. Kansas City. Okay. So we both have Kansas City. That does slightly worry me. But here we are, both picking the Kansas City Chiefs.
Look, got racist Native American mascot, and they do tomahawks. They got red and gold close to burgundy.
You almost feel at home, don't you?
Right.
All right, why don't we jump into the comment mailbag, where we have 4 comments. We really appreciate you guys for commenting, beginning with Blood Clot. The menu was great. I laughed my ass off so many times. I'm a foodie, so the ridiculousness of everything really resonated with me. I'm a sucker for good tapas or Oh, I don't know how to pronounce this. I'm telling you that right now. Amuse Bouche. I don't know. Amuse Bouche. I'm telling you right now. I
Yeah,
never
say it
seen
again.
that before. No. I'm not saying it again. I already said it. How do you say it?
I'm not helping.
No, you have to.
No.
I don't know how to
I
say
like
it.
your unsure. I like your uncertainty.
I
I just
nearly.
want to.
I'm moving on. I nearly fell over Nicholas Holt's last scene. How do you guys like The Last of Us? I'm a Sony Pony fanboy, so I played all the games. And although originally I wasn't thrilled with the casting in the series, I'm so enjoying it. I even love the slight changes they made and how other parts are nearly identical to the game. I don't care how many homophobes or snowflakes I hurt with this next sentence, but that third episode with Nick Offerman as Bill, Neil Druckmann deserves a damn Emmy. So you've seen The Last of Us. I have not been seeing The Last of Us. I'll leave that for you, KDot.
Without spoiling things. Also, the other podcast that I just started that I've been trying to leave a comment on our pages about the podcast, and it keeps deleting it every time.
Does it really?
It does.
Okay.
In the last 2 weeks.
And I want the record to show I am not deleting
Yeah,
it. Just to be clear.
Amit doesn't want me to leave. I get it. We're sticking it, even though I'm not going anywhere. he's trying to sabotage me. We actually have been doing a Last of Us recap every episode because as of right now, as far as shows that are actively on TV, it's the best one. And you're right. The third episode is absolutely incredible stuff. And I got to pull this guy's name up. So there's of course Ron Swap. If you're a Parks and Rec fan, our guy Nick Offerman is definitely in the episode. But I think the thing that really got me was Murray Bartlett, who played Arnold, Armand in The White Lotus, and he plays.
Oh, I know him. Okay.
Yeah, he's on a hell of a run. Because I actually think he kind of stole this episode to a certain degree.
Was Armand the guy in season 1? Hold on, I just want to make sure I got that right.
The front desk guy.
Yes. Okay, that's who I was thinking of.
Yeah.
He's great.
He's great, and he's in this episode of Last of Us.
Okay.
The Last of Us is amazing. It's not technically a zombie show. I played the game all the way through, and I love how faithful it is to the game. It's just good shit. And if you were to classify it in the sense of a zombie thing, they're nailing it. This feels like the best parts of like season 1 of Walking Dead.
Okay.
With like a combination with it, and it gives Children of Men, the sci-fi movie, gives me some
I've
vibes
seen
of
none
that.
of these. Go ahead.
Yeah.
You're talking to
combination
Blood
of
Clot
those two.
and the audience right now. This is all going
Blood
over
Clot,
my head. I'm just.
I don't know if you
for
agree
sure.
with me,
Yep.
but Children of Men meets first season Walking Dead, and I think it's just got a lot of legs. The acting is superb. Pedro Pascal also having his fucking moment. Great on SNL last week. Also killing it on Last of Us, and Mandalorian's right around the corner. Exciting time to be him.
There you go. What KDot said. Appreciate you as always, Blood Clot. And then we move on to Vindo. Patty the Batty, baby. Appreciate you, Vindo. Patty the Batty. I'm trying to remember the what that would be referencing there.
Patty Mahomes?
Right, but like the Batty. We appreciate you, Vindo. We probably just missed something there. And then Spencer Brudig. Shout out Spencer. Commenting to, and this is in all caps, splash the algorithm pot. Thank you very much, Spencer. We really appreciate you splashing the algorithm pot there. And then miss you, bud. Then we go, DJ Turner. DJ Turner's got a pick.
Oh shit.
Here we go. Shout out DJ. Here we go. My gut, this is DJ's. My gut says Eagles by 4. My brain says Eagles by 7.
Oh.
But my heart says Chiefs by 2.
Yeah.
The Chiefs are banged up and Eagles pass rush scares me, but if the game is close, I'm not betting against Mobile Marino, even with a bum ankle. Eagles take a late lead on a Hurts QB sneak, but a Mahomes moment wins it. I'm going to side with DJ's heart. And there's never a bad time to do that. Really appreciate you, DJ Turner, for the comment. Do you ultimately think it seems like his pick is the Chiefs, right? Even though his gut
That's
and
what we're
brain,
going with. We're not discounting anything that said the Eagles.
We have to. And may he go 4-0. But that was the comment mailbag, and this is District Divided, DC Sports Podcast, more specifically a Commanders podcast. We need to talk about if we're doing any Defenders coverage, by the way. That starts up next Sunday. Yeah, I'm Amit. That is KDot. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like the video. Please subscribe to the channel. Please comment as you always do. You got the notification bell, yada, yada, yada. You hear this on everything you listen to these days on YouTube. We hope you guys enjoyed, and after the pod begins right now. So, KDot, I have a question for you because something came up for me when you had mentioned you had bought a Tom Brady jersey.
Yeah.
As a fan of, at the time, the Redskins, up to how many other teams' jerseys, if any, do you think it is acceptable to buy?
If you grew up in our era, and it's 2003, as many as you want, as long as they're throwbacks.
But like of other teams, right?
For me, it just depends on what you're doing. To me, throwbacks of any team, anytime, okay.
That's fine.
As long as they're not rival teams. Like, you'll never see me in a fucking Roger Staubach jersey.
Yeah,
but,
of course. No. Those things are off limits, even throwbacks.
Right.
Yeah.
But then I also think about, like, all right, what am I doing with them?
Okay.
Not really fashionable to wear them anymore. So
right, that's true.
So, like, then I think about, all right, from a framing standpoint, and if I had from a framing standpoint, I have no problem getting jerseys like that autographed. So I think that if you were doing a thing where you were buying jerseys, having them autographed, and had like even though I fucking hate the phrase man cave, if you put it in your man cave.
You have one, don't you?
I don't.
Okay.
So stupid.
That you don't.
The existence and calling them man caves is fucking stupid. Yeah, it's just annoys the shit out of me. Like that to me is cool. Or like what I'm doing is that I will buy your jersey if you reach to a level at which I realize you're goated. And I'm like, here you go.
Okay, so that is your endorsement.
It's my endorsement. So like, like when you see me at like the Thanksgiving football game for years, I'd be wearing the Tom Brady jersey. So like, I'd have the Tom Brady jersey on.
So you would say the parameters are it is acceptable when you feel that person is goated. You can get that.
That's
jersey.
just me.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, that's fine. I mean, that's what we're talking about here.
But yeah, I wouldn't
necessarily.
But I don't think it. Right. It's just that's my standard. So like, Mahomes has gotten to that point where I'm like, you're undeniable, and here's my support for you. I'm paying money that you'll see some sense on to acknowledge that I love and appreciate you.
Okay. I think that's acceptable because initially I was like, I would never, ever buy another team's player's jersey. But I think in the situation of it being goated, and no less in the AFC, right? I think if the person were goated in the NFC, even then I couldn't do it. But I think in the AFC, I think it, for whatever reason, feels a little more distant, and I can understand that.
Well, to me is that like there are certain guys that reach a level at which, as long as they're not playing my team, I'm rooting for them. Brady was that for me.
Fair
so
enough.
like regardless, so as long as he wasn't playing Washington, I'm rooting for Tom in any game that he's playing in. And I've reached that point, I think, with Mahomes, is regardless of whatever it is, as long as he's playing in the game, I'm rooting for him. The only other thing that I've ever thought about doing was I thought about getting a Trent Williams San Francisco jersey if they won the Super Bowl. It's sort of a fuck you to the disorganization of our franchise.
I appreciate that. I think the QB for me that I would root for, Cam Newton, I thought was very, for me, lovable. And I really enjoyed his personality, what he brought to the position. That MVP season was unbelievable. I mean, legitimately, you look at the numbers, you look at the receivers he was throwing to, you look at that offense. I mean, it was quite similar to his Auburn offense in that there were seemingly little to no professional help, over there, except they were all pros, but just like, and by all pros, I don't mean all -pros. They were all professional players. He did so much. And I think he was really enjoyable, and he had a very infectious sort of personality and smile. And I really enjoyed watching Cam Newton play at his peak. He was awesome.
No, he was awesome. I will say that I have this internal thing with me when it comes to the Carolina Panthers, the I might even say Tennessee Titans, but especially Atlanta Falcons. And all the way down to pretty much Jacksonville Jaguars, even though I can understand if they were rooting for Miami. As they're all fake fans of their respective teams, they're all diehard Washington fans at heart.
Sure.
Because
I wouldn't
that
disagree
was
with that
all
at
our
all.
territory.
And you know the beautiful thing about
recently.
this? It could, once again, to a certain extent, for some of those fans, become our territory, depending on new ownership.
Right. So, like,
there's an opportunity here, even in the DMV, like even Baltimore.
There are definitely generational things down there. I know that in Carolina, past a certain age, maybe because they're racist, are Redskins fans still. They're the ones that are on they love the team. Maybe they finally switched allegiance because of Dan, or they finally switched allegiance because the team name changed. Whatever.
I think we have more fans in Carolina and Charlotte whenever we play over there than we do at FedEx sometimes. Like even when Cam Newton had his first home game back with Carolina and Heinicke was there, it wasn't a 50-50 split, obviously, but like you could hear the cheers on Fox when Heinicke made a play. You know, like it was real.
Virginia's huge. And outside of Virginia being huge and really, really far away from DC, there are some places in Virginia where you're absolutely close to Charlotte that you are in Washington, right? So there's a lot of that. Also, just like we were the team of the South. I mean, that's what starts the entire thing against us in Dallas, right? Is we didn't really want anybody south of us getting involved with anybody in our territory. The fight song was "Fight for Old Dixie." Dixie being the South, Dixie being not necessarily something I'm proud of. The fight song was ever "Fight for Old Dixie," but that's what it was. We were the team for all those guys. So yeah, I mean, having a Cam Newton jersey or anything down there, I don't care, because I think that you could chip away at the colors and there's burgundy and gold underneath.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really like the way you said that, by the way. Yeah, I think that's true. I think that's 100% true. But anyway, what was I going to say?
What shirt do you have on?
This is a District Sports League Champions shirt that we won probably now a couple years ago. I think it was one of the first leagues after COVID had just like the restrictions had been lifted. And so we ended up winning one of our winter leagues. That is the last time I've won freaking anything in District Sport. It's been a minute.
I'm working with them right now.
Are you really? What are you doing with them?
They have a couple tournaments coming up. There's a EA Sports FIFA tournament.
Oh, at Franklin Hall, Feb 25th. Yeah,
that's Franklin Hall.
They've been marketing that like crazy. Oh, there you go.
And then they also, for the She Believes Cup,
we're
doing. So we just announced. We did the announcement through Franklin today about the She Believes Cup, and tomorrow we'll do the big announcement on the FIFA.
Dude, that is awesome. Hey, so how do I leverage our relationship at Franklin Hall, for example? Do I get discounts? I'm like, I know KDot. Like, how does that work?
No.
Fuck.
So, no. But that's the thing, is like, I get criticized a lot. I shouldn't talk about this, but I get criticized in my work because I'm not as active going to the bars as I probably should be.
Oh, so, I see.
They want me to come and get food and everything. And the idea that I'd be sending friends over to do that, and I'm not even there, will probably be a slap in the face to some of them, unless you were gathering content for me. So like, I'll
gather some content for you for sure.
I'll make a call and say, hey, I got somebody coming over that's going to take photos of food, this, that, and show themselves having a good time at Franklin. Give them a gift card. And then,
how have we not leveraged this before? Yes, absolutely. Let's do this.
If you're willing to do work, the work, I mean,
all I do is work, baby. You know that. On the field, off the field, we're good to go.
Like, you do go to bars. I don't really.
I do. Let's not jump into that, huh?
You like to spend your Friday nights. Oh, wow. Huh?
No. Listen. I've been, ever since that conversation we had where we broke me down psychologically, I've been marginally better.
Yeah. You're
marginally.
It means nothing. The right phone call at the right time had his boy out there doing all kinds of shit. You know it.
I wouldn't say I know it.
You know it. Goddamn well. You sitting in the apartment, you're looking at Barkley. It's one of them nights, it's like 11 o'clock, and you just
bro, no, not 11. It has to be sooner these days.
And little thing that you might have saw somewhere, she shoots a text off, be like, hey, I'm in Clarendon. And you're like, shit.
I'm in Clarendon, dude. No. Now you're.
Hey, depending on what she's offering.
You know what you're doing.
Depending on what she's offering.
You're
I think you're traveling.
You are assassinating my character right now.
I think you're traveling.
You are assassinating my character. Maybe when I was 25.
I think you at least
I'm not
pull
doing
the phone
11
up.
p.m. Clarendon. Are you kidding me?
I think you at least pull the phone up to see what the Uber costs.
How do we get to this?
I think you do that bit. You say, all right, how far is the Uber and how much is it going to cost me?
You want to know where I am at 11 p.m. on a Friday now? Falling asleep on this couch. The moment I'm horizontal on this couch, it is game over. It is done. The night is over. No, 11 p.m. That's a 25-year-old, I would think. 24, 23. Past that.
How old are you right now?
31.
Oh, yeah, fuck you. That's about over for you.
The night is absolutely over for me.
Over for you. No, I'm saying you're going to have a couple moments. You're going to have a few more moments.
11 p.m.? No, not 11 p.m. anymore.
Have a few more moments.
Not 11 p.m. If it's 8 p.m. and I'm like, awake, maybe. But not Clarendon. Let's stop short of Clarendon. That is absurd.
When Megan on Hinge,
U Street.
When Maggie on Hinge sends you a couple eggplant emojis, I'm in Clarendon.
Then she's like,
"What's happening?
Dude,
what's happening?
No.
What we doing? I'm feeling lonely."
In Clarendon, she's feeling lonely in Clarendon.
She might be. I think Clarendon's the line for you. I think you'd think about it.
What? I really should be asking this. What do you think Megan is like? This character you've created for me.
Maggie. She's a Maggie.
I'm sorry, Maggie. What is this character in your head?
She a freak. Maggie a freak. And you know what Maggie get into. Maggie been sending you texts about it. Maggie,
why does this sound like you're Will Ferrell and the other guys and he's recounting him as Gator?
I've never seen that movie all the way through.
You haven't seen The Other Guys?
No, not all the way through.
Oh my God. How have you not seen The Other Guys? That movie.
Come on. It's a mid-level comedy. It ain't like I didn't see The Godfather 2.
KDot. You would love it though. You would absolutely love it. It is intentionally breaking the wall consistently.
I've seen some of it. I know. I've seen some of it. It's funny.
Have you not seen the scene where Will Ferrell is recounting his past days?
Yes.
And Mark Wahlberg is like abundantly like, you are absolutely a pimp. And he's no, I've seen it. Of course not. Dude, you would.
I've seen that.
Michael Keaton's great in that. It's a good cast.
Samuel L. Jackson, the Rock thing, it's funny.
And for the Bushes every time.
I've never
that will never not be funny.
Never watched it all the way through.
I think you should.
I probably will. It's easily available. I just haven't got
it. Is easily available.
Like 2 or 3 weeks ago, I watched the Game Night for the first time.
Game Night. Why does that sound familiar?
Jason Bateman and Rachel McAdams. So you guys know what I'm about with Rachel McAdams. But
that's true. What a dream.
I rented on Amazon Prime like 2 or 3 weeks ago. I watched it 3 times in the 48-hour window I had to watch it.
Oh, so you really enjoyed it?
I really enjoyed it. Also, I paid $30 for a movie last weekend to get early access, and I purchased it through Amazon. It was a movie that I hadn't seen before. It's still in the theaters. And I felt so strongly that I'd enjoy the movie that I made the purchase before seeing it.
Wow. And did you?
Did I say it? Yeah, I purchased it. I watched it.
No. But did it match or exceed your expectations?
Yep.
Damn.
Yes, it did.
Are we allowed to know what the movie is?
Yes.
What is the movie, KDot?
Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. That movie, as my girl Joanna Robinson of The Ringer said, excuse me if I'm fucking it up. That movie, she said, I saw Puss in Boots last night. That movie has no business going as hard as it does. And I'm with her. I just heard enough people that I respect from a movie watching standpoint tell me about Puss in Boots. And I watch it and I'm like, yo. Now the people around me, girlfriend is kind of like, yeah, it was good. I don't know if it's $30 good. But guess what? She's watched it twice already since I purchased it. She's watched it more times than I have already. She's singing the songs. Like, I'm just like, okay, all right. Yeah, not worth the $30. Yeah, okay. That movie's the shit. I've never seen any Puss in Boots before that, and I don't remember Shrek other than like 2 scenes.
First off, I vowed 2 minutes of silence there, just to give you the full 2. You hadn't seen any previous Puss in Boots movie.
Nope.
And then decided to drop $30 on this.
Yep.
Where did your expectations even come from?
People that I trust when it comes to movies.
So
I'm on text threads. I'm on certain Twitter group DM threads or whatever the fuck they want to call them. There are some people that when they talk about certain movies, we give each other feedback.
Okay.
And I get a good assessment on where they are compared to where I am. And I'm like, I trust that. Some people have not necessarily, they can give me a recommendation and I'm like, okay, but I kind of whatever. But there are certain people that when they say, then things stop. It's the same way that if I tell them, hey, you need to check this out, they're like, okay, well, we'll go do that. And we usually are not, I'd say 90% of the time, we're not disappointed with each other's recommendations. And it's knowing the other people and like tailoring them. And then beyond that, I am a fan of movie critics. And there's certain movie critics I listen to. There's certain movie critics I don't listen to.
I always found them to be obnoxious.
There's no getting around that. But criticizing movies and criticizing art it's obnoxious. But I still think it's worth doing. Okay. I'm much more. So there's like modernism, postmodernism, as far as
got a hard stop in 2, by the way. Please continue. Yeah,
there's a difference between modernism and postmodernism, right? There's an element in postmodernism that's everything is worthwhile, everything is worth the same. We should respect all and every art.
Okay.
And you have modernism, which is much more you're building towards truth. There is something to be said as far as something being better than something else. It's why if you look at like all these towers and stuff that were built like the 1920s, 1930s, they all built to aspire, right? You're trying to get to some sort of fundamental truth. You're trying to dig deep to get to this point. I'm much more along those lines the other way. I think the other way is entirely way too much participation trophy bullshit. There is something to art in the sense of how far and deep you're willing to work to go get it, and I respect it. And and with that comes criticism, and it is obnoxious. It's crazy, but I love it so goddamn much because of the conversation that it breeds.
So then, as we sign off here for the day, let us leave you with this.
Those pieces of shit.
And build your own truth. We'll see you guys after the Super Bowl.
No, don't do that.
Too late. It's been said.
In DC, we're just hoping that you listen.